Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, welcome to whatever this is. One never knows. It is at least Wednesday, right? December 12th. Time flies. And I want to again remind people that Sally Wiggins coming in tomorrow. She's hung it up after a stellar career in television here in Pittsburgh. She's a longtime friend of mine. She's actually the first person I met when I got off an airplane to come here. And we have been friends for, good God, and let's not count. And she's a piece of work, so it should be fun. It depends on what mood she'll be in. I don't know. So I'm hoping she'll be loose and funny, because I need laughs. I really do. Hey, this is a full-page ad in the New York Times today, and I wanted to alert you to it in case it wasn't on your schedule. This is full-page ad, New York Times, Paris to Pittsburgh, National Geographic Channel tonight at, when is it, 8? 8 o'clock, maybe. 9 o'clock. And Bill Peduto apparently figures prominently in it. And the title, of course, comes from the remark that Donald Trump made on pulling out of the Paris climate change accord, in which he said, I was elected to be the president of Pittsburgh, not Paris. To which I know our mayor, Bill Peduto, had a bit of a rejoinder in which he reminded the president that he, in fact, was not voted into office by the people of Pittsburgh. And certainly if the people of Paris could have voted, that would have been the same result. So this is about climate change. And it's gotten some very good reviews. So just saying. That's on tonight. If you're looking for something to watch, the National Geographic Channel. And I also saw a movie I've been dying to see because I've never seen such rave reviews. That's always a problem, rave reviews, because I get my expectations way up and then I get disappointed. But this is this Mexican film called Roma. And I was complaining to friends the other day, is like, what are we, some kind of cinematic backwater here? Everybody's talking about this film and it's not playing here. And I happened to see in some newspaper today that it was in the New York Times that Roma will be streaming on Netflix starting on the 15th, I believe. So that's interesting. I mean, straight to our living rooms as opposed to a theater. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I mean, if the rave reviews are even half right, it's a powerful, powerful cinematic experience. So those with Netflix will be able to see it. So those are my two viewing suggestions. I mean, and I haven't seen either, so who the hell knows, but just telling you. Also, for your viewing pleasure yesterday, played a million times, of course, the Oval Office melee with Trump, Pelosi, and Schumer, and this strange statuesque person who I believe is our vice president, who did not move a muscle that I could see during the whole thing, just sitting in a chair, expressionless. Look, I don't know what is the opposition supposed to do when confronted with this president. Sit there and let him lie, sit there and not respond. And a lot of people have pointed out that Donald Trump is extremely unused to having anything he says be countered to his face. And that's what happened yesterday, and he got increasingly agitated and finally ended with a flourish that had Republicans on Capitol Hill groaning, and his aides. There's some of the pictures of the event. You can see his aides standing there, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders at one. And man, they don't look happy. Anyway, so the president finally said, "You want to know something? I'll tell you what. I'm proud to shut down the government." Whoa! I'm proud to shut down the government for border security. I'll take the mantle. What a courageous guy. I will be the one to shut it down, said the president. Now, if there is a shutdown, and we're there's a December 21 deadline, that does afflict lots of working people. And December 21, if my calculations are correct, is 4 days before Christmas. So government workers maybe doing their Christmas shopping, not getting paychecks, might be truly unhappy. I don't know how much else it interferes with immediately. You can't, if you took your kids to a trip to D.C. to see certain monuments and stuff, they might be closed, right? However, Trump petulantly wants a border wall, and so he will proudly. I mean, of all the possible qualifying words he could have summoned up, proudly shut down the government is really out there. I thought Nancy Pelosi was much more effective and feisty than Schumer. Schumer, who couldn't seem to make eye contact with Trump, and I understand that. I don't think I could either, because just the sight of him makes me barf. And maybe Schumer felt the same way. So when Trump was talking to him, he never looked at him. When he was talking to Trump, he looked at the floor. But that didn't look strong to me. Pelosi looked at him. And that is one tough broad. She's smart. She takes no crap. And for all the people who think she is not the person to lead this new Democratic majority in the House, you're out of your cotton-picking minds. I do agree that younger people should be brought into the mix. But when you got somebody that good, why the hell would you throw him out? Unbelievable. She's been, as I've said a million times, considered one of the most successful speakers of the House. And the only female, of course, to hold the position. Speaking of build that wall, In the course of the melee in the Oval Office, Trump, of course, made a number of absolutely false statements. We've already captured 10 terrorists who were coming in. That's bullshit. I mean, that's just bullshit. And he said they come and they're violent and they spread disease, I believe he said again, which is essentially calling them vermin, which is what you do when you want to dehumanize an entire group of people. So let's talk about the fact that he wants to spend billions upon billions of dollars to put up a wall that ain't going to keep him out, when, in fact, we already have, according to the most recent statistics, 8 million immigrants without proper papers working in the United States. There's 11 million living in the United States, but those that are able-bodied are working here in the United States. You bump into them every day. They wait on you. They cook your food. They clean your houses. They keep your lawns nice. They build a lot of the construction that goes on in this country. They harvest our crops. 8 million of these people who Trump says are infested somehow with all kinds of diseases that will kill us, if that won't kill us, they'll rape us in our bed, slit our throats, and who knows what else. I just want to say this. Policymakers who say that we've got to stop this influx because they're harming our economy, right, have it exactly wrong. Because people who study immigration, who understand the dynamics of immigration, both documented and undocumented, say that if we were to successfully end illegal immigration, in other words, the way these 11 million people have come to live with us, it would mean that a whole host of native-born Americans would also lose their jobs. Companies would be forced to close, and the economy would definitely contract, possibly heading into a recession. Because these people are absolutely part and parcel of our economy. And let me give you some percentages, and these are probably a little bit low because they're from 2 years ago, the last time they had been able to study the numbers. Unauthorized immigrants, or as Republicans call them, illegal aliens, that's another way of making them seem not human. Unauthorized immigrants in 2016 represented over 10% of the workforce in the state of Nevada, almost 9% in California, over 8% in Texas. They are growing as a percentage in southern states, especially Georgia and North Carolina, where they represent 5.5% of the working population. Here's the reality. Here are the numbers. These people that Republicans want to throw out already represent 24% of all the workers in American farming, fishing, forestry, and 15% of those in construction. By the way, doing the shit jobs. Doing the tough jobs, physical labor jobs, crap jobs that Americans refuse to believe, but employers tell us constantly Americans will not do. Nearly a quarter of all restaurant workers in this country are foreign born, and you got to figure that the vast majority are also undocumented. They've been in those jobs sometimes for decades. They are extremely skilled. They are nothing short of vital to a lot of American companies, to our farms, to our businesses, definitely to a lot of rural economies. And if they were all to be deported, as the Republicans want to do, there is no doubt that those jobs would not be filled, where we've got supposedly full employment right now in this country. Who's going to fill those jobs that Americans don't want? Americans don't like working bent over in fields. Americans don't like being up on roofs doing, putting shingles on. There's studies that show all this. Americans don't want to work in these low-skill service jobs. But the reality is every job that one of these undocumented immigrants perform, because it's part of a much larger fabric of our economy, that job that they hold might in fact help sustain 2, maybe 3 other jobs that native-born Americans hold. So even though few Americans seek these jobs, harvesting our crops, mostly, harder and harder to get Americans to do that. Farmers are, that's why these undocumented immigrants are growing so in the southern states, because that is a lot of what they are doing. We rely on them to harvest our crops. And if they are rounded up, as has happened on occasion, and shipped out, or we rely on them in some of the more nasty kinds of industrial work, slaughterhouses and things like that. Americans don't want those jobs. If you take the illegal aliens out of the picture, then those meatpacking plants close down. Or, as some like to argue, no. What they do is they double their wages. And so all of a sudden, native-born will take those jobs. The economists that generally follow this say it's not, that is not necessarily true. Let me just read this. Wage rates are not the main issue, economists say. Expectations and status play a role. He says Americans have increasingly gotten to a point where they simply refuse to do dirty work, what they think of as dirty work. They, in fact, are willing to take a lower paying job inside, let's say, an Amazon warehouse distribution center than they would to working in in the fields or in some of these more noxious, stinky jobs that these undocumented workers are willing to do. The Associated Contractors of America found that 70% of construction companies say they have difficulty hiring roofers and bricklayers. The hotel and food services sector reports record numbers of vacancy in jobs. They can't fill them. So, we have a call? Okay. Go ahead, caller.
Hello. Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
Hey, people will take those jobs if there's safe conditions to work in and they pay well. I disagree with that. I think if there's benefits with it and it pays well, it's a living wage, Americans will take those jobs. That is, I don't know where these economists get that. That is a bullshit story. And there's always a shortage of $7 an hour. There's a lot of $7 an hour job, but there's always a shortage of $20 an hour job for the simple reason people are looking for a living wage and good, safe places to work, environment, and everything. And those jobs, those people are treated like dog shit, and they're almost like slaves. And for this country to allow that, it's just amazing. But that is untrue. People will take a living wage if you have good working conditions and benefits. That is untrue. I've heard that all my life, and I disagree with that, and I could probably prove it that it's not true. That's a good thing the economists like to say, so they can use cheap labor as they always done in the past.
Okay, but
and that's when black slavery went out. That's when immigration went in because they didn't have black slavery, so they had to use the white and whatever people came over from the seas. That was a form of slavery. That's what happens in this country. We have slavery in these places. These people are treated like dog shit, and that's what they are. And the wages are low. Why would Americans take jobs? I wouldn't take a job like that. I'm not a dog. I'm not treated like an animal. I don't treat an animal that bad. So that's my opinion on it.
All right. Okay.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye. I was a little surprised when reading this article that they talk about one specific worker, a woman in California who in the summer works in the fields. Here it is. Annabelle Garcia toils in the vineyards of Sonoma County, earning about $15 an hour. That ain't slave wages. I know lots of people who make that. $15 an hour. When the season ends, she finds work cleaning homes. And she earns up to $20 an hour. She says, "We are here to do any work. We see no Americans in the fields with us," where she's making $15 an hour. I don't know. If you kick out 8 million of these undocumented workers, our economy would come crumbling down. We have full employment right now. Employers are begging for people. They can't fill jobs. So if you were to have 8 million more to fill, how would those get filled? That's all I'm saying. Man, I understand you believe what you believe, but I'm going to trust, again, the people and the statistics that they harvest, and I'm going to trust, God help me, New York Times reportage. Gigi says, thank you for talking about Pelosi's unique abilities to be Speaker of the House. Unbelievable that anyone would not see the wisdom of having her be Speaker. Even Mara Eliason on NPR commented that after Pelosi's performance yesterday, any Democrat who had doubts about voting for her for Speaker would no longer have doubts. Pelosi is one smart, tough woman. Yeah. And all the more amazing that she still looks good. She's got tons of energy. And she's 70 what? 78? 77, 78 years old. Wow. I mean, that's somebody to be admired, not put out to pasture. We have another caller. Go ahead, please.
Hello.
Hi. Oh, my God. You're just doing that to screw with my head.
I was thinking about doing it just to do that, but, the previous caller and what you said afterwards made me think of something.
Okay.
And it's because, picking food and working in restaurants are considered basically low jobs. It's not about the pay. It's about the status. Just like you said.
Yes.
As soon as if you see a black guy picking something in a field, it'll be amazing to me. You know what I mean? Just because of the history.
Right.
And even being like waiters and waitresses, you get that image of like films from the 50s,
right?
When all the other people who were serving
were black
people, were black people,
right?
It is about it, and of course, white people think the same thing. I'm not doing that job, white Americans, because that's a job that's beneath me.
Yeah.
It's not about the pay. It's about what it represents, what it means. Because the first thing I thought was, although she's paying grades for $15 an hour for 8-hour job, that's literally, I believe, put you right above the poverty level.
Right. It does.
Right there. It's right there.
But
yeah.
But she's got a husband who's doing the same, and it's they make it they make it work. It's also back-breaking labor.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And I can't imagine anybody. I can't think of anybody who would go and work in. I know a few people who will butcher their own deer, and what they hunt, they will butcher that thing right in their kitchen.
Right.
But I can't see them working in one of those plants. Those same exact people who will cut out animals will not go in a plant and cut up that food.
That's a nasty job. Nasty job.
I heard something recently, and it had to be NPR because it's the only radio station that I have on about them basically throwing a lot of just food just dying on the vine and going bad because they don't have anybody to pick it.
Yeah.
Just tons of it, just tons and tons of food.
Right.
Can you imagine what what the price of food is going to be? Simply because there's no one to pick it.
That's right, and that's the other thing. That's why the economy would go kaput.
Yeah.
The price of everything would go sky high. Yeah. So okay, I thank you for the call.
And kudos to Nancy Pelosi. I was thinking the same thing during that interview.
Yeah.
I mean that interview, that talk. And I have a different opinion of why Schumer wouldn't look at him.
Why?
Because I could see me doing the exact same thing. I'd snap.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that, like, if I look at you and when you're sitting there telling lies and being an idiot, that sets me over the edge. So I keep my eyes averted from looking at you.
Right.
So that's what I saw when I saw Schumer
that could be too.
Not looking at him.
Yeah, just afraid that those two alpha males sitting so close to each other would just, come to blows.
They would have come to blows. And Nancy Pelosi would have probably grabbed them both by, like two little boys grabbed them both by the short hair. Now break it up. You guys just break it up.
While Mike Pence sat there in absolute rigor mortis having set in.
Well, he can't move, because there's another woman in the room, and his wife.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Oh, God. Hey, Clarence, thanks. And
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Yeah,
okay,
Tuesday, supposedly.
Right.
Okay, bye.
Okay, right,
bye. Just so you know, the Republicans are still at it. They are putting judges on the federal appeals court bench almost on a daily basis. The latest one, Jonathan, come on in, but I'm not. The Senate narrowly confirmed a guy named Jonathan Cobes to the federal appeals court, despite the fact that the American Bar Association flat out says this idiot is unqualified, and now he has risen to be a federal appeals court judge. They have found the ABA has found 5 other of these Republican nominees unqualified. You got to really be lousy to be unqualified for one of these. Every one of these judges that have been deemed unqualified have passed and are now sitting in life tenure on federal appeals court, part of course of the unrelenting push, as long as the Republicans have this power, to reshape the judiciary of our nation as a conservative bastion. And that continues apace. And might be another reason why we keep asking, how can these Republicans hang with him? They're thinking long term. We're going to have, because the other thing about these unqualified guys, they're all guys, they're all white, and they're all young. So they've got 30, 40, 45-year tenures ahead of them. That's what's happening, still happening. We got a gentleman caller here. Jared, the mic fell. Jared. Why do I keep calling you Jared? Do I know a Jared? I actually... No, but that's not it. Okay. You got to come around, too. No, when I was typing your name in last night to say, hey, stop by, I said, Jared.
Okay.
So it's just in my head, your name is Jared.
Almost every other male in my family is a J. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
My brother, even my sister is a J, actually. So.
And then how come they went R with you?
1987 was a really popular year for naming kids Ryan.
87?
Yeah.
Why?
So I was born. I don't know. Just it's one of those you know how like popular names just like become trends now because of baby books and stuff like that.
Do you know what I saw that 2 female names that have trended in recent years? Melania and Ivanka.
Oh, yeah.
Why in the name of God would anyone name their child after one of those 2 women?
Yeah. Ivanka sounds pretty Russian, too, just saying.
Melania and Ivanka? Yes, it does, doesn't it?
They do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the reason I was scrolling around on my computer, and I came upon something that Ryan, who, by the way, is our chief writer here, had written, and it interests me. My tenure on the state board of the ACLU has come to an end.
Okay.
Yeah. As of the end of this year. But I will tell you that one of the high priorities of the ACLU in Pennsylvania and nationally, but really here in PA because we got a serious problem, has to do with criminal justice reform. And if once you start delving into what is going on in the, 72 counties of this?
67, I think.
67?
Yeah.
Of this Commonwealth. I mean, it's really disquieting, discouraging, dismaying. And here in Allegheny County, those words can all apply.
Yeah, second largest county in the
second
in the
largest
state.
county. Now, Philadelphia County, last year or early this year, an extremely progressive district attorney who right away went after all kinds. He flat out said to all of his assistant prosecutors, don't even bring me. Don't even come in here and say that we should adjudicate a case involving a marijuana sale or this, even though it's still, that is a criminal activity there.
Yeah.
And prostitution was another one. He said, we are not mucking up the courts with that kind of crap that can destroy someone's life. And he's done a whole lot of other stuff. He's just amazing.
Yeah, he's done a lot of progressive reforms. Larry Krasner, I think, is his name. And yes, he's been very aligned with kind of like progressive causes.
And he shows the difference a district attorney can make. They have extraordinary discretion. Now, here we have Mr. Zappala, who I personally know And as a just social person, I like him very much.
Yeah.
But when you look at some of the numbers here, I gotta say, he ain't doing what he could be doing. So let's talk about this. This is talking mostly about disparities involving, you often hear a juvenile has been arrested and they will be tried as an adult, which always pissed me off because I thought, well, then why have these designations in the first place if you throw them out the minute? I mean, kids, little kids. I mean, a 6-year-old can be tried as an adult.
Yeah. Yes, the district attorneys have the discretion to charge any minor as an adult.
But they lost some discretion with this act.
Yes.
In 19.
Yeah, well, it's actually more strict now because in Pennsylvania in 1995, the legislature passed Act 33, which is a child delinquent act, I guess is what it's called. Whatever, yeah. And basically the goal was any teenager 15 or older, 15 to 17, I guess, is automatically
tried as an adult
for serious offenses like robbery, aggravated assault, homicide, as long as they're using
as long as there's a weapon
involved. And you hear that on paper and you're like, oh,
well, that sounds.
If someone's shooting someone with a gun, that would be homicide with a deadly weapon. But a weapon could be a car. A weapon could be a baseball bat. A weapon. So someone aggravated assault is holding a baseball bat while they're doing it. Mm-hmm. That could technically fall under that jurisdiction.
And put a kid in adult prison.
Yeah, I mean, right into adult court, and which would put them on the path to adult prison unless their lawyer is good enough, basically, to bring that charge back down. And that is, as my story talks about, isn't always the case. And so within that being charged as an adult system, there are stark racial disparities within Allegheny County.
Well,
Huge.
this is not that we're shocked to hear it anymore, but it is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Not that we're shocked to hear it. It's unbelievable, which of course makes no sense.
Yeah.
In Allegheny County, black teenagers are 20 times more likely to be charged as adults compared to lily white teenagers.
Yes. And
20 times.
20 times. And we should say that this is for the same cases. These are for this isn't like just generally they're like 20 times more charged. We're talking about this narrow event when a teenager is charged than an adult, which mostly falls under this automatic charge of Act 33. There are some cases where the district attorney will charge a 14-year-old or a 13-year-old because they have the discretion to do so, but under the Act 33, automatic charges. So just within this statute, pretty much black teens are 20 times more likely to be charged.
20 times more likely to be charged, even though they make up what percentage of the population?
They make up 20% of the youth population.
That 14 to 17
That's
range.
National 14.
Yeah.
Yes, 14 to 17. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, 20%, but they get it's something like 80-some%.
Yes,
I mean, there's so many numbers in here.
Sorry, let me
Black youth make up about 80% of
80%
these
of
cases.
the cases, but they're only 20% of the youth population.
Now, and it's the same kind of crimes. Now, what do you suppose could be at work there? Can you come up with anything?
What the district attorney was saying was that a lot of these cases originate within the city of Pittsburgh, where there is a higher percentage of black youth, but not 20 times higher, not even close. It's twice as high. So there, let's see here. There's 39% of teens, 15 to 17, within Pittsburgh
are black.
Compared to 17.5%.
Okay, so you could say, so then maybe, all right, 40%. Let's say if that, but that's not even quite right.
It's not even close. It's not close.
And still, 80%.
Yes.
Of the cases involve black teens.
Yes, and we should also say that the discretion is with the district attorney, Stephen Zappala, but also with police officers making these charges. And so there's definitely something to look there in terms of, oh, well, if a police officer says, oh, well, you're black, so I'm going to charge you more, versus a white officer, not a white officer, but a white teen who says, oh, maybe I'll let you off the hook for that. Yeah,
right.
Again, there's no evidence of that here, but speculating that could be a possibility.
So Zappala, in the article you say Zappala, when questioned about it, actually said he didn't have any, he says he doesn't have any ability to somehow impact this extraordinary disparity between black and white.
Each time I talk to the district, each question I talk to the district attorney about kind of pointed that question of what kind of role do you have, or is this something, blah, blah, blah. And he kind of deflected basically each of my answers saying, oh, well, this is the law, right? He said, that he doesn't really have the ability to bring this down. Or I guess he really just defended the status quo of what this is, which is basically the lawyers have the ability to bring the court down. But again,
he's saying so. So he's saying their lawyers should be doing this and that. Okay, well, a lot of these black teens are coming out of, lower income families.
Especially in Allegheny
County. They can't go get, some hotshot attorney to represent them. They're represented by somebody from the public defender's office who is juggling 80 other cases.
Yes.
And
at the same time.
Come on.
Yeah.
And then when you suggest that to Zappala, he goes berserk.
He basically denied that the assumption that public defenders in Allegheny County were overworked. Which at the time I didn't know a lot about. Once I did research after the interview, I found Joe Audi, which was kind of famously came out this summer, to all the press saying we're extremely overworked and no one's doing anything about it.
Right.
So
they've been overworked for a long time.
Basically, he's refuting that claim, but without evidence. Ryan. Yeah.
As opposed to Jared.
Yeah.
Here's something that I believe this is a quote from someone at the not from the ACLU, from this initial article.
Yes,
okay. So this is Allegheny County. Black teens in Allegheny County account for about 85% of all the children charged in adult court.
Yeah, that's like every single case, basically, not just the
But
14 to
this number
17-year-olds.
goes up from 85.
91%
of those that end up getting referred after they're charged for prosecution are black.
Yeah.
So a few white folks.
Yeah.
How does this?
Hold on, let's break this down real quick because it is really interesting. I'll go. So basically, yes, like you said, black teens account for 85% of the children charged in adult court. Of those 85%, 91% are referred for prosecution. So basically, after the charge, the DA 91% of the time says does not drop the case, basically. Then after that, once they get into court, 97% of those are adjudicated, are issued a ruling by the judge. The judge doesn't say we're dropping this case, basically. I'm not going to rule on this. They have the discretion to do, I believe.
So we're up to, we've gone from 85% to 91% to 97%.
Yes, are issued a ruling.
So the number of whites are dropping. Whites are dropping out of the process, leaving only black kids.
No, I don't think that. I think what this stat applies to
black teens.
Yes, is basically that once a black teen is charged.
Okay.
It gets worse and worse from there.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay.
So this is just dealing with the black kids. Once they get stuck here, they're screwed.
They have very little chance, and then eventually, once they get adjudicated, this is an amazing.
This is the amazing
stat.
one.
100% of the time, they are sentenced to jail or prison if they receive an adjudication from the judge. 100% every time.
That is
every time.
That is
it's
really hard to believe.
It is.
And 100%. And let us remember, we're talking about people who are legally children.
Yeah, and I'd love to talk about a case.
Legally children.
Yes, and I'd love to talk about a case if it's okay about what happened, because Zappala, when we brought all these stats to him, said no, these are basically saying these are serious, cases. These are serious crimes, and some of them are very serious. Some of them are murder. I mean, that's a very serious crime. But not all of them are, and that's something to remember, and that's why discretion is so important. One of them, I believe his name is Kaiwan Swindell. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right.
He stole a car.
He and some friends stole a car. They might have been involved in some criminal activity. It's unclear. But yeah, stealing a car
is criminal
activity. A criminal activity. Stole a car. The police started to chase him while he was driving that car. During the eluding process of him trying to get away from the police, he crashed that car, injured 2 bystanders, and injured the people in the car. No one fatally, but injured people. And so he was charged with aggravated assault, and
with the car being a weapon.
And the car being that weapon.
But who weaponized the car? The police giving chase.
And so this is where it's really interesting, because a Post-Gazette article shortly after that case hit the newsstand, Zappala was actually considering charging the police officer with a new rule that was instituted by the county with unnecessary police chase.
Because unnecessary police chases often end in innocent people getting hurt, as in this case.
And so he was then charged. So those charges never came through. So the DA had the discretion to drop those, or I mean, I don't think he actually filed those charges. But he had the discretion not to charge the police officers. But Swindell ended up being sentenced to a year in prison. He was 17 when he committed this act.
And let's acknowledge that once you go to prison, your life is,
it's actually really sad, because Swindell, I looked at his criminal record, and he has been implicated since those times, but he hasn't actually been charged with anything. It's like minor stuff, like pot possession and stuff like that. And so, he seems to be like almost like probably an in and out lifer.
Sure, he's going to spend the rest of his life in and out of prison, which costs the taxpayers a lot of money, instead of helping these kids to, get a toehold. And this stuff just drives me nuts. The ACLU, believe it or not, has as its goal to cut the number of incarcerated people in this country in half in the next 2 years.
Yeah, wow. It's ambitious.
I think it's delusional,
yeah.
but you do have, finally, Mitch McConnell agreeing to have this first little vote on a bill that would give judges more discretion in sentencing and could reduce a lot of mandatory minimum sentences as well. It is a tiny baby step. It is bipartisan. It will pass. Trump will sign. So there seems to be a push, even coming from the federal government, from both parties, to get this under control for different reasons.
Yeah, I know the state government has, like they always do, they have been talking about, this kind of issue as well. And honestly, it seems like this law, Act 33, is something to look at if you're a legislator in the state government, because automatically charging somebody, I don't understand the point of that. If the whole idea is that we're supposed to have more discretion throughout the process, have more discretion. You don't need to automatically be charging teenagers as adults. That seems like that should be repealed pretty easily.
So I think, it's unfortunate that Zappala is not going to be facing a strong opponent.
Yeah, he has an opponent right now, Taron Jenkins, but Tehran has made some
serious errors.
Yeah, I mean, yes, politically in terms of
he's a homophobe.
He does seem he hasn't not had
he can't expect the
good
very progressive people who would have voted for him instead of Zappala are put off, to say the least, by his
does feel that way.
Religiously created homophobia.
Yeah, it's really interesting too, because he had I think the Incline interviewed him recently again about this issue, and he kind of doubled down on it. So
he can't. It's part of his. He believes that's the way Jesus wants it.
Sure.
So I don't want a DA like that.
I think a lot of people in the county, at least within the Democratic primary, which is usually when you win the DA, would have trouble voting for somebody for those. For those
now,
reasons.
if a stronger candidate had come up to unseat Zappala in a primary,
there's still months. We still got, it's in May.
To unseat Zappala in a primary would be very, very difficult to do, and also
he has
because
institutional support for sure.
Absolute institutional support. He has name recognition. As I said, he's a likable gentleman when you see him. Yeah. Nice guy.
I've had interaction with him.
Good family. All those nice things with so many ties in the community. I don't know how you knock him out, and yet he's got to be pressured to do more than he's doing.
Yeah. Yes. That seems to be the case. Maybe people will look at this and our article and see what can be done. I mean, it was interesting. I talked to I didn't talk to. I reached out for comment to the Allegheny County executive, Rich Fitzgerald, and he kind of didn't really give a strong statement on disparity. I mean, So
Rich is good at mumbling when he wants to.
Yeah, and
it's another guy I like, but
it does seem like logistically it's an easy fix. It's basically have the DA
say,
DA, I'm gonna do more discretion with these.
Use the power you have.
That's pretty much the quick fix. It could be done tomorrow.
Use the power you have to stop this outrageous racist discrepancy going on right under your nose, and you can stop it. Come on, Steve. Come on. Come on. We know. We're rooting for you. You can do better. You can do better. You lucked out with this guy who's trying to unseat you and his homophobia. But, listen, this is outrageous. We're talking about kids who go to prison with adults.
Oh, I should also mention that once you get charged,
you're in prison. Yeah,
well,
you're in
not
jail.
Not only that, you're in jail, but I mean, even if you come back out and you're still a teen, every other time you commit a crime, even a misdemeanor, not a summary offense,
they throw you back in jail.
Adult jail.
Adult jail.
Once you get charged,
right, so
if you're 15,
no,
you get charged under this.
Come on.
You come back out and you have a little pot, and and you get thrown in adult jail.
Jesus H. Come on, Zappala. Look at the difference you can make in these young lives. For better or worse, huh? Too much worse going on. Well, Ryan, who should have been named Jared, I thank you so much for coming by.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to talk about this story. It's out on newsstands now if you want to go pick it up.
Out on newsstands, free for the taking. Pittsburgh City Paper, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks.
Thanks, Lynn.
Go get to work.
Thanks.
Okay. I got time for what? An obituary. And Henry saying, Henry says, I hope this documentary, Paris to Pittsburgh, that's on tonight, premiering National Geographic Channel, Paris to Pittsburgh, doesn't hold Pittsburgh in high regard for being a green city. I think it does. In Allegheny County, rules for recycling are changing on January 1. Waste Management, one of the recycling vendors, recently sent letters to residents stating that they will no longer accept any type of glass. That's the county, that's not the city, right? Any type of glass and some plastics previously accepted will no longer be accepted. Nearly 80% of the previously accepted recyclables now have to go into the trash. I think that's county, not city. I didn't get anything like that. Jeez. I mean, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. That's, you know what? They aren't, it's not making them the money I guess they used to make or something. There's a glut now, and it's, God, we just can't seem to tackle these issues as we should. All right. Quick obit. Oh, yeah. You know, I started my working life, my big first job was as a secretary at a law firm in Madison, Wisconsin. This would be in 1972. 1972. I'd sit in front of an IBM Selectric typewriter, which was the top of the line, and I would answer the phone. Melly Shields Walker and Pease, may I help you? And I would type stuff, and I would submit to sexual harassment, and I would do all those things that women did in 72. But I want to tell you about a woman who, in the obituary, a number of people say, "Why is this woman not famous? Without this woman, there would be no Bill Gates, no Steve Jobs, no internet, no word processors, no spreadsheets, nothing that remotely connects business with the 21st century." Her name is Evelyn Berezin, and she flat out she used an IBM Selectric, which is why I mentioned it, as her keyboard and printer. But then she had 13 semiconductor chips, which she had also created and designed, and programmable logic. She's created the first truly computer word processing. She did it herself. Okay? These machines could edit, delete, cut, and paste text. Her biggest competitor was IBM. She started a little company called Redactron, and eventually IBM, so much bigger than her, caught up with her, swamped the market, and did her in. But she's the one that IBM ended up stealing the, well, I don't know if they stole it, but yeah. She was the daughter of Jewish immigrants from Russia, grew up in a one-bedroom apartment under the elevated tracks in the East Bronx, graduated from high school at the age of 15, attended night classes at Hunter College, and then earned a degree in physics at NYU, and blah, 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 and on and on. She was blazing stuff that no woman of that time had done. So she's, again, like one of these hidden figures. All of these women in early computing who designed, created all of this stuff have not been recognized by historians, by science and historians. Her name is Evelyn Berezin, just so you know. She built the first word processor, and she died last week at 93. Okay, Clarence writes, I don't know if there's a connection, but a lot of recycling goes to China. Oh, are you saying that maybe the Chinese and the fact that maybe they're not accepting our garbage anymore? Who the hell knows? But I'll rest easy tonight knowing that Donald Trump is hard at work in the White House. I'm sure it'll all be just fine. And Clarence quickly says the top 2 solid waste service companies in the U.S., Waste Management, which Henry noted, and Republic Services, both recently pulled back profit projections based on China's new policies, which have created a glut in scrap markets and sent global prices for scrap plummeting. Make America great again. Okay. See you guys tomorrow. Oh, Sally Wiggin tomorrow. Just saying. Okay. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.